Good afternoon, YouTube. So this here is a Strava heat map, and if you don't know what a Strava heat map is, it is basically a record of where you've gone riding throughout your whole time on Strava. So for me, I'm obviously from the UK, and the more astute of you will have noticed that I'm slightly northern in my accent. So yeah, I've ridden about 15,000 miles since about 2014, which is when I started riding. I just thought I'd sort of show you whereabouts I've ridden and whereabouts I've ridden more than others. So I started my cycling career in North Yorkshire. So I live just north of Harrogate, which is this blob here. That big blob is because of Deliveroo. I did Deliveroo in Harrogate back in the summer of 2016. But I live just north of Harrogate, or at least I did. And so most of my riding was in Nidderdale, this area here. So Nidderdale is an area of outstanding natural beauty, and it's definitely earned that. Some cracking scenery there. It's quite similar to the Yorkshire Dales because they're similar in location geographically. So most of my riding was sort of eastern Nidderdale. So a lot of the time I'd sort of go over to Brimham Rocks, which is a cracking place to ride. You can reach from Harrogate and then sort of up the Nid Valley, and there's the Loft House, which is what the Tour de Yorkshire did last year, which is a really good climb in the area. It's one of the only climbs that you can do out of Upper Nidderdale. So I went around there a bit. Did quite a lot out of Pateley Bridge up to Greenhow as well. So Greenhow's another climb out of the Nid Valley. You go over into Wharfdale, and that's into the Dales, and that's sort of the main climb west, if you like. But yeah, I started to go further afield, so I started quite locally, sort of in this flat area here, pushed over into Nidderdale, and then I managed to reach into more the Dales. So over here you got Grassington. This is kind of the focal point, if you like, of Wharfdale. You know, if you go to Grassington, you're probably going to go up to Kettlewell, and then Kettlewell you've got Park Crash over to your right hand side, or you can carry on going and do Fleet Moss, which is this big one here. Fleet Moss is the highest road in Yorkshire, so if you're ever in the Yorkshire Dales and you've got your bike, definitely look at doing that. It's absolutely cracking terrain. Over here we've got Malham. Sort of, this is kind of Southern Dales. It's very uppy downy. You don't quite get as high, but it's pretty WhatsApping terrain nonetheless. And so that's kind of most of my Dales riding. We've done a few rides over to the Vale of York. You know, I was so spoilt for scenery here because, and places to ride your bike, because you've got the flat lands of the Vale of York over here, which actually extends like massively down here, and then you've got the hills to the west. So a lot of the time I'd be sort of going towards York because that's where I went to school, and then a few times I'd be got to the sort of Howardian Hills, Whitehorse Bank, I believe is this one here. That's a kicker. Well, it's more than a kicker. It's 10% for the best part of a mile, if I remember correctly. Maybe 12% actually. It's pretty steep. And then we've got a cracking trail centre here, Dalby. That's one of the major trail centres in the north of England. It's one of the Super Six, if I remember correctly. Another trail centre is Gisborne over here in the Forest of Bowland. That's kind of getting towards Lancashire there. We're actually in Lancashire, so we don't really talk about that. But and then I've got sort of North Dales, Reef, Tan Hill. That's another cracker. Some massive descents as well down into Kirby Stephen. You go down Lamps Moss. You got Buttertubs Pass over here. So I think the big hitters in the Yorkshire Dales are definitely north, really. You got Oxenham Scar, Buttertubs Pass, Fleet Moss, Garsdale Head. I haven't done that yet, but that's good. But then the biggest one of them all that people don't really know about is Great Dun Fell. So Great Dun Fell is in the North Pennines in Cumbria, and that's an absolute beast. That climb, you get up to just under 3,000 feet. It's about a 2,000 feet climb. And then obviously you got the lakes. So Fred Whitten there. Started off in Ambleside a few times, and done Kirkstone Pass, which is another cracker. And Grasmere, gone around Grasmere Lake. So yeah, so that's kind of most of the riding I've done in the north. But then I went to uni in Bristol, which explains the other significantly red patch on the heat map. So most of the time, you sort of cross over the suspension bridge and head off down into Somerset from the bridge, because once you cross over that bridge, you're basically out of Bristol. So it's a really easy way to get out of the city quickly and efficiently. So a lot of the time, it would just be going off into the Mendip. So Cheddar Gorge down here, got Draycott, Chew Valley, Dundry, that's a big one. But the local climb for the Bristol lads was Belmont, this bit of tarmac right here. That was good. And Downs Laps, this little thing here, 3 mile loop in the city. So whenever you'd want to go off on a quick bash, you'd do some Downs Laps. But yeah, Bristol's good for cycling, but it's probably not quite as good as Yorkshire. It's quite hilly though, but you can't get quite as high. You know, you get to the top of Cheddar, and it gets pretty epic, but you just can't raise it. But yeah, it's really good. Like the Cotswolds are pretty, so going over to Bath on the cycle path. Done a bit of racing at Castle Combe as well. But if you want to get to the big hills, the big hills from Bristol, and you want to set off from Bristol, you got to go to South Wales, Abergavenny, and Monmouth. These are kind of this is the area you want to be. So the Tumble, I believe, is, I think the Tumble's this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, that's pretty savage. It's about 5 miles at 8%, I believe. That's quite savage. No, it's less than that. More like 3 miles, 4 miles. South Wales, did that with the Tour de Burrito. That was an epic 130-mile ride where you set off from Bristol over to Cardiff, round, skirt the bottom of the well, not quite the Brecon Beacons, but you're getting close. It's definitely hilly around here. It's hilly around Caerphilly, and then over to Bath, and then back round. So that was something. But yeah, most of my riding in Bristol was South Bristol. That's the easiest way to get out of the city, really. And then more recently, I also did riding in Snowdonia, which was epic. We went over, what was it called? That really flipping steep one, Hellfire Pass. That was it. It's also got a Welsh name. That was really savage. We actually walked up that because it was snowing. And then a bit of London, Richmond Park, standard. But these are brilliant. So you've got, we started this ride from Tomintoul in the Highlands last year, and it was a 100k loop, skirting into the Cairngorms, and we went up the Lecht, which is here, roughly. The top of it, you get to a ski station. it's that high up, and there then basically descended into Tomintoul, where I got a jammy KOM. But the Highlands is a cracking place to ride because there's so few cars. I mean, there's few roads, but there's few cars, so you know you never really have to, single out to let loads of cars pass you. You just sort of ride two abreast and just enjoy the scenery, really. But it's very exposed, it's very windy, and it's a lot more cold than it is in Bristol. And then also Ullapool up into Loch Inver. Loch Inver's here. That's a cracking part of the world. Getting close to the north coast there. But yeah, the good scenery. The climbs aren't that big, but there was this section of road, which was coastal road here. Here, sort of this bit of road. That was mad. Seriously good. and then yeah, just did a few more rides. There's Bealach na Bar, so Bealach na Bar, yeah, northwest Scotland. So that was a cracking ride. Coastal roads are amazing, and then the Isle of Skye. It was quite misty when we were there, so we didn't get a full idea of the scenery, but still pretty good. Yeah, so 15,000 miles of riding. Yeah, done a bit abroad, so this is my touring route. So I cycled down from Bristol to Southampton. Oh, sorry, not Poole, which is near Bournemouth. Then Guernsey for a bit, and then through Normandy to Paris. Saw the Tour, which was epic. TGV, Metz, or Strasbourg. Oh no, it was Metz, I think it was. Yeah, and then up through Luxembourg, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Yeah, I've done some videos about my touring, but this was hard because my legs were already cooked by the time I got to Paris, really, and I did have a few days off, to be fair, but it was still difficult. I did it by myself, and then yeah, these three blobs here are the 3 trips that I've done with the University of Bristol Cycling Club. So we've gone. First year I went to the Pyrenees, which was awesome. We stayed in this place called Arrow, which is a stone's throw from the bottom of the Col d'Aspin, which is an iconic Tour de France climb. Not super steep, about 6.5%, but it goes on for ages, and there's loads of hairpins, and you can see where you've been. And then obviously we're close to the Tourmalet, so I did the Tourmalet, and then one day we actually drove over to Lourdes, the Christian pilgrimage destination place, and did a ride there. I think we did the Col d'Aubisque, which was cool. And then second year, yeah, did North Alps, North French Alps. So we're staying in Morzine, and Morzine's a mecca for MTB riding. So we didn't actually do any MTB riding. I was quite jealous. But yeah, we did the Col de Jouplan, the Avoya climb, and yeah, Col de la Javert. Loads of climbs around there, but I would say though that if you want to go to the French Alps, the Southern Alps are the way to go. Way more iconic, and I'd say slightly quieter. Up here it was there's a lot of sort of industry because of all the skiing. Having said that, we were in Alpe d'Huez, but yeah, so we stayed near Alpe d'Huez. So we did the Alpe d'Huez, Galibier. What else did we do? Les Deux Alpes. We did the Telegraph, which is kind of the precursor to the Galibier. So this was the epic route. This was the Marmot route that we did. I didn't actually do the whole thing because it would have involved doing Alpe d'Huez, having already done 4,000 meters of climbing. Some people did, but yeah. But it's a stunning place to ride because the bike infrastructure there is amazing. So many cyclists go there, so there's massive bike lanes along all the main roads. So you feel very safe on the roads. The only downside is that there are loads of tunnels, especially going in towards the Italian border. So they're sometimes shut to cyclists, and if they are open, make sure you got your lights. It's a bit sketchy, to be fair. But so this is kind of my overview, really. 15,000 miles of riding in just over 3 years. So thanks for watching, guys, and hope you enjoyed the vid. And yeah, take care out on the roads, and see you soon.